What's up, my commandos? Welcome back to Creature Commandos Podcast here on DC Studios Podcast. I'm your host, Andy, as always, and joining me, as always, is my amazing co-host, Lip. How are we doing today?
I don't know. Can I meet you at the corner of fucking off?
Yes, you know what? For you, I will always meet you at the corner of fucking off. We're here.
No, man, I'm great. I'm always great.
It's good to
doing good.
Doing good. We're on episode 3 now. I hope everyone has been enjoying these first couple episodes of Creature Commandos. And before we get to that, we're gonna do a little bit of a little news check-in. And this time it's from good old James Gunn himself. As we love when he talks on. We love when he talks on Friends. It's our new favorite show on Friends. The only good show on Friends. But there's been a lot of interesting conversation lately. So first of all, one of the things that he asked recently was someone had asked him, okay, never had a Christmas special compilation be as well put together by the one by James Gunn. We need a sequel accompanying TV show with it. And James Gunn goes, well, the question is this: if one DC character gets a TV Christmas special, who should it be? And so yeah, like Lip, if we could have annual Christmas specials for DC, it could either. I mean, I say, because he only says DC character, he doesn't say DCU, so it could be something in Elseworlds or whatnot. Who would you want to see get their own Christmas specials?
Ra's al Ghul.
I wouldn't mind it.
So the thing I have in mind is like what if Ra's al Ghul was the basis for Santa Claus? Because he's lived for 600 fucking years, right? And like my idea is like, well, what if all this time, like the idea of Santa Claus has been rooted from racial, like what if Ra's al Ghul was essentially the basis of Santa Claus? Like what if he was the one who went around and like gave gifts to children in these fucking terrible cities and whatnot over the years, and then eventually he's just like, you know what, fuck this, the best gift I can give them is a better world by destroying it and rebuilding it.
You know what? That was not the premise I was expecting to hear for Ra's al Ghul Christmas special. But I could take it. I mean, if it was up to me, I wouldn't mind seeing again, because I mean, I will always try and find a way for Smallville to come back. But like, if they needed to test the waters to see like if that animated sequel show should happen, they should do like a Christmas special with the Smallville characters as like a check-in. And if the audience responds as well, that could be kind of almost like a little backdoor pilot. That's weird because it would be a backdoor pilot for a show that's already happened. So, but that's what I would do. And then in terms of DCU, I don't know, because again, I think it would have to be something with characters that we will all have been established with by the time we get to 2025, 2020. Like we could do something with the Daily Planet characters for a Christmas special. Because by that point, we will introduced to Steve Lombard. Or
you know what? Like, what if it's like a Christmas special inside Lord Industries, and it's just like a funny Secret Santa between Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, and Green Lantern?
No, actually, that's actually better. That's actually better. I will take that instead. Because that's one of the things I'm actually really excited about to see. I know people were like, when the set photos came out for those costumes, that they were like furious. But I'm like, but wait a minute, I think there's people like you and me, we get it. It's a plot. Also feels very much like Vought Industries, The Boys.
Yeah.
It kind of would be interesting to see. I want to go and see the deeper insides of Lord Industries and kind of see why is Maxwell Lord doing what he's doing with superheroes? And a Christmas special could be a one way to do it.
It's so cool to me that Sean Gunn is now like, he's Weasel, he's GI Robot, he's gonna be Maxwell Lord, and I'm just like, well, who the fuck else is Sean Gunn gonna be in the DCU at this point? Probably anyone who needs a motion capture, if I had to guess.
I mean, I think it would be funny if all three of our characters at some point got to be in the same room together. And again, because this is what's so genius about it. Weasel doesn't sound anything like Sean Gunn. It's just Chewbacca / Gollum on crack, and G.I. Robot is, we got lots of things to talk about G.I. Robot today, ladies and gentlemen. He's just like he's just like he just sounds cuddly. Like I just and with Max Fuller, I think he's gonna sound. You know what? Like, what I think he's probably gonna sound like. He's gonna probably sound like a mixture of Madeline Sitwell or Stillwell, whatever her last name is from The Boys, and the name of Giancarlo Esposito's character. I think like that's kind of like somewhere
Edgar fucking it's Edgar something.
Edgar fucking off.
Yeah. God damn it! What is it? Edgar? It's not Vought. It's not Edgar Vought. It's something else. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah.
It's Stan. Is it Stan Edgar? I don't fucking.
I think it is Stan Edgar. I think
so. I think it is Stan Edgar, but let's just double check here for clarity's sake.
It's like wonderful character on The Boys, though. Like it's fun whenever he shows up.
He's a great actor in general. He's just a phenomenal actor in his own right. He's been in a lot of different shit. I remember like seeing him for the first time, like, and recognizing him was Breaking Bad. I love Breaking Bad, and I love that he's going to be Seth Volker in Captain America: Brave New World, the Sidewinder, the leader of the Serpent Society. I can't wait to watch that. That's going to be cool too.
Yeah, he might be the only saving grace at this point of that movie from what we're here. I mean, I'm excited for Captain America: Brave New World because I'm excited for Sam Wilson. But like hearing how many reshoots has been going on with that film is starting to kind of like, okay, this. Like I think its reshoots are fine, but when you're doing like your third or fourth set of reshoots because the test screens are not doing well, I'm like, okay, but I'm excited for him either way.
He is in fact Stan Edgar. That is the character in The Boys.
There we go. So yeah, so we remember. We're very thoughtful. We're demure of character names.
He's also Lex Luthor in the Harley Quinn show too.
He is.
He's the voice of Lex Luthor in the Harley Quinn show. Yes. Giancarlo,
go get the paychecks. We love it. Also, in other news, someone had also asked James Gunn on Threads that they want to read on Superman. What would he recommend? And he, for anyone who may have missed it, because he said this before, but he brought it up again today that it was All-Star Superman for all seasons and Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. And that's really the books that will influence his Superman movie. I read All-Star Superman. I haven't read For All Seasons. I read Whatever Happened a very long time ago, but then I've seen them. I've seen like the animated versions that they did with Superman and Whatever Tomorrow in the Justice League show, and of course the episode they did on Supergirl. But yeah, I haven't read that comic in a hot minute. Like, have you read all three comics?
I've only ever read All-Star Superman. I have not read the other two. I am outside of that, I think Gunn has mentioned that the Fleischer Studios cartoon as well as Superman the Animated Series have a bit of influence, which I am very familiar with those. Yeah, as far as his influence on Superman, but the fact that he went out of his way to comment on someone's thread who's asking for more Superman stuff is pretty cool. I noticed that he said it, and I was like, oh yeah. Of course, you're gonna like recommend the movie, the books that influence your movie, which is totally fine. Shameless plug. We all do it all the time, no big deal. But like, it's just cool to see him interacting with fans, just like on his own accord. Like he didn't have to get asked that in order to respond. Like he just saw it and went, "Oh, here you go."
Yeah. Oh, and again, I also love that James Gunn is he's such a champion of comics. Like this is one of the things that I've loved since he came on board for DC Studios. That I'm like, Kevin Feige, you need to like take a page out of his book on this. Is that comics has been selling so well since James Gunn came on, and now that there's been lots of lists of comics that he's recommended for the various movies and TV shows that are coming up. And I mean, again, I still remember the day when it was reported. The next day when it was reported that Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow was all sold out.
Yep.
And then we got I think Grant Morrison's Batman run was sold out the following day. So again, I love that comics are getting to benefit from this because these are some amazing storytellers that have brought some of the most definitive stories for these various superheroes that we've come to know and love. It's like again, like also Superman, it is an essential read. Even if this Superman movie had never happened, also Superman is like it's so iconic. So I love the fact that the comics are thriving this way.
Yeah, I distinctly remember when those announcements were made, and excuse me, yeah, like you mentioned, Grant Morrison's Batman was sold out. Like the Absolute Omnibuses specifically, the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow book was entirely sold out. I actually had to. I was fortunate enough to have a DC Universe Infinite login sent to me, and I was able to read Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow in its entirety. And great book, really great book. Tom King knocked out of the park with that. So I think that movie is going to be a really big hit, especially if they take a lot of key points, which I don't doubt that they will from that story. And then I think even Swamp Thing was even like searched a lot following that. Like specifically, I think Alan Moore's Swamp Thing was like being put in demand because of that announcement.
Yeah, I remember. What's it called? Absolute Swamp Thing, All Things Swamp Thing, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Not to confuse it with Absolute Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman right now, which they seem to be crushing it in the sales. I think didn't Absolute Batman go into its third reprint?
I think book 2 is on its second or third printing, yes. And I think it's the cutoff for issue 3 is coming soon, and I need to pre-order mine because book 2 was awesome. As far as the other two, I did read Absolute Superman and Absolute Wonder Woman, the first issues. I just wanted those first issues just to have, and I will be getting the rest of that story when they come in trade paperback form, probably later sometime next year. But Absolute Batman, I'm getting consistently every month. Like I will not say no to more of that. That book is phenomenal. And bringing it back to the comics that Gunn recommends, it's fun because I don't think there was too much demand for Amanda Waller, but at the same time, it's like she doesn't really have a solo series to pull from. But for me, it's not really that big of a deal because, again, like she has a massive presence in John Ostrander's Suicide Squad, and I have that entire run in trade paperback form. So anytime I need to dip into anything Amanda Waller related, I literally have 6 volumes of that book available to me at any given point. But I know that there's, more recent Suicide Squad stuff where obviously she does play a part in, and she is a as far as the Absolute Power stuff, she's a big player in that too, which predates the Absolute All In stuff. Like there's a whole run where she's essentially like the big bad. She's like in control of these like brainiac robotic versions of this Justice League, and like they're just wreaking havoc across the DC universe. And I think spoilers, Green Arrow is on her side too. So that kind of wild. When I read the cliff notes of all this shit, I was like, this is insane. But I haven't really been keeping up with a lot of current comics. I stopped working at a comic book store in early 2022. So I've just been kind of reading up on them when I can online here and there. But Absolute Batman, I'm trying to stay consistent with.
Yeah, I actually I made an order on Midtown Comics. I ordered the first issues of both Absolute Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, as well as issue 2 of. I have to order in front of me. Issue 2 of Absolute Batman and issue 2 of Absolute Wonder Woman. I also finally found Green Lantern Earth 1 Volume 2. Like I actually found someone that's selling it, not for like $120. I'm finally finding it for cheap price. So I also got the DC All In special, the one shot, and the Al Scott comp. I was what. I have some money saved. Let me buy some comics, and we need to keep comic book stores in business. Comic book is a fundamental part of our pop culture for so many reasons, and so if you can go support your local comic book stores, and if you want to get a more into James Gunn's DC universe, there are lots of lists out there of comics that you should get. Like another comic get Wonder Woman Historia. Wonder Woman Historia is chef's kiss gorgeous. I actually met the artist at the Comic-Con I traveled to a couple of weeks ago, and apparently it took 5 years to complete the art on that book, which so yeah, go support them. And if you want to get a better taste of what's gonna like inspire some of the DC universe, then let's talk about again, this will be airing on Thursday, December 12th. We know that a Superman trailer is supposedly on its way in mid-December, but there's been a lot of talks about, like the the supposed process of making this trailer. So there was someone on Twitter who I don't know what his thing is in the industry. I don't think he has. I don't know what he's pulling from, but he had been going around saying that supposedly there had been multiple cuts of the trailer for Superman, and that because the studio was supposedly not happy and had like given notes like make it better, and and people, of course, this is what I love with James, because that people can check in with him and he will give candid answers. So he said, I will read said quote so that we don't, get accused of putting anything out of context. I'm really excited for the Zuma trailer. From everything I've heard, there's an enormous pressure internally from inside Warner Brothers for the trailer to be received well. Apparently, the studio asked for multiple different cuts of the trailer to find the best version. To clarify, since every trailer necessitates multiple cuts, apparently the editor cutting the trailer presented a fairly finalized version to the studio weeks ago. The studio wasn't happy and said, quote unquote, make it better. I wouldn't want to be part of the marketing department over there right now, which was recently gutted. And James said the following to this response.
May I? I'll take James.
Go for it. Go for it.
James Gunn. This was the way I saw it, because I sent this to Andy. I saw this. This was a screen grab from, I'm assuming, Twitter, and then the response I saw was on Threads, and James Gunn had this to reply to. He said, "Well, sort of, but when he says studio, that's solely me as the only studio involved in cutting or anything to do with the trailer is DC Studios, i.e., me and Peter." And even in parentheses, James says, "And I'm the creative demanding one." This is exact same rigorous process I've gone through with cutting every Guardians trailer, pushing the marketing folks as hard as I can, cutting and recutting until I think we have something worthy of the film itself. All that said, my notes are a lot more specific than make it better. So to clear up any confusion here, let's just make this abundantly clear. Warner Brothers Pictures has absolutely zero oversight or handling in the cutting or marketing of this trailer. They may distribute it and put it on the Warner Brothers YouTube page, possibly, but even then, like, this is coming straight from DC Studios. This is coming straight from James Gunn and the marketing team at DC Studios, not Warner Brothers Pictures. This means that James Gunn solely, and I'm sure Peter Safran's probably sitting in the room too, but I'd have to imagine that James Gunn is in that editing room with whoever else, cutting and recutting. They have multiple. That's just part of the process. Like, they go through multiple different edits of a trailer until they feel that this is good enough to put out for mass consumption to get people hyped to go see this movie. They did it with all three Guardians movies. He made that clear. I wouldn't doubt the same applies to his version of Suicide Squad as well.
Yeah, exactly. So again, and the fact that people are already trying to start this this narrative that somehow like there's trouble. Again, listen, we know that Warner Bros. Discovery has been going through a lot of changes, and there's been a lot of chaos there and so on. But that's on Warner Bros. Discovery. That's not on DC Studios. So again, if I think that the process for DC Studios when it comes to marketing the trailers, including editing them, cutting them, and everything, I think that needs to be judged on itself. Warner Brothers has lost. They've cut a lot of their publicity team and marketing team. So that's a separate issue in itself, nothing to do with DC Studios. So the fact that someone's trying to go out there and say that the notes are going around is make it better. I'm sick. I'm sick that it's like we haven't even gotten started on DCU yet, and I mean, we have, but when this was tweeted, the DCU hasn't started yet, and people are already trying to make the worst scenario possible. And I'm like, I'm just tired of it. Like, we can't judge DC Studios the way we judge DC films. So.
Right. And I think even looking at something from the past that has been marketed by DC Studios, case in point, Creature Commandos. When the Creature Commandos trailer dropped, I think it was that Friday at Comic-Con, like, I called you immediately after, you called me, like right as it dropped, right after it dropped, and we both talked about it. And I don't think that was even from WB. That was from HBO Max. Like, that was from the Max YouTube page, if I'm not mistaken, is when it debuted. It was either Max or the official DC YouTube page. It was one or the other. I don't remember which one it was, but I know for sure that like it came by way of those outlets. It wasn't through Warner Brothers Animation, I don't think. I mean, they might have, but I know I first saw it either from the DC official YouTube page or the Max.
I saw on this was so annoying was that I saw it on the official Instagram account for DC, but it was only like the vertical
right.
I was like, I want to see the full 16 column 9 trailer, like not this, like I don't want to see the TikTok version of it. So yeah, it's again, it's a new time, and I think that's what people need to judge it on those merits.
Absolutely.
And then I guess the final thing was I couldn't find the I found one response, but someone had asked also, James, for your DC, when an actor dies or no longer wants to return to the franchise, will you be recasting it or will you retire their character? And James said, it depends on the situation. We could do either, depending. Which I think that's valid. I think like it needs to be a case by case basis.
Absolutely.
Like let's say if David Cornsman, for example, he does a trilogy of Superman movies, and then at some point maybe he doesn't want to come back. I'm just saying as an example, that would be a scenario where like they would recast because Superman is too big of a character to just retire.
Right.
But yeah, so I think it's good that they're keeping it. They're keeping the door open.
I think the easiest comparison to look at this point is on the other side of the fence. I mean, look at the way Marvel Studios handled the death of Chadwick Boseman versus what happened with William Hurt and the passing of him. Like, instead of recasting someone to play T'Challa, that was a no-win situation no matter what. Like, whatever happened in wake of that, they were going to get criticized no matter what, be it, doing what they did in terms of giving the mantle of the character of Black Panther to Shuri and Latifah Wright, the actress, or, just recasting with someone else and doing that. Like, they were going to get criticized no matter what. Whereas when William Hurt, who up to the point of right before Captain America and Thunderbolts was playing Thunderbolt Ross, and now we have Harrison Ford in the role. And I think that it again, it's a case by case basis, and it depends on where you are with these characters and what you are able to do. In terms of Black Panther, I don't doubt one bit that they had major plans for Chadwick Boseman to kind of be like the next Iron Man face of the MCU going forward from Phase 4 to 6 in the Multiverse Saga. And then, of course, his untimely passing completely altered those plans. And then as far as William Hurt goes, he's a supporting character. You can get away with recasting a character like that. But when it comes to like major characters, to your point, like when it comes to say someone like Superman, I feel like if David Cornsweet went, hey, I did 3 movies, I'm good. We don't know what his contract is. We have no idea what other projects he's even signed up for outside of a Superman film.
Yeah.
So, that's entirely up to interpretation at this point, or even up to assumption and guessing at this point. But hypothetically speaking, if he were in the position of being like, I'm done after 3 movies, or hell, look at Batman. Batman went through 3 different recastings in the course of one cinematic iteration. You had Michael Keaton for 2 movies, then you had Val Kilmer for 1 movie, and then you had George Clooney for another movie. That's exactly 3 different times someone put on the cowl in the same universe. Quote. Yeah. And then you had Christian Bale, who did 3 movies, and then apparently he might have been asked, like, hey, do you want to come back for Batman v Superman? And he went, sure, if Christopher Nolan does it. Oh, he's not doing it? No.
Then,
how much money are you offering me? No, I'm not going to do it. So what did Zack Snyder do? Well, he cast Ben Affleck.
Who is arguably, in my opinion, he's the best cinematic Batman we've had.
To date, for sure. I agree. And I like Robert Pattinson. I think Robert Pattinson.
I love Rob. Listen, I've said to people, like, when it comes to live action Batman, Ben Affleck's number 1 for me, then Christian Bale, then Robert Pattinson, and then Michael Keaton. And I don't really like Val Kilmer's Batman. I definitely don't like. Actually, I will put Val Kilmer after Keaton, because I just don't like George Clooney's Batman. Like, there's just he's not even playing Batman. He's just George Clooney
in a bat suit.
Yeah. And listen, George Clooney's a great actor. He's just not right for this role. So
I think when it comes to George Clooney as Batman, he could have been handed something much better than what he was handed. He could have been a good Batman. And I think even Joel Schumacher could have gotten a good Batman out of him had the directive from Warner Brothers at the time not been make a giant toy commercial.
Yeah.
It's a, hindsight 2020 thing, but for me, my list is a little different. It's Affleck, Pattinson, Kilmer, Bale. That's my order in terms of live action Batman, and that's for a plethora of different reasons. But yeah, like say whoever they cast as Batman does a movie or two and says, you know what, I thought this was for me, don't really want to do this, you can get someone else. I could easily see them doing like okay, well, what if we go full on forward with the whole Grant Morrison storyline? We kill Batman and then make Dick Grayson Batman. I could see that being
it would be exciting. It would be something new as well, like and also like, it would be kind of cool if we have Nightwing for a couple of movies, like or for a chapter or two, and at some point like maybe Batman doesn't necessarily die, but he does retire, and maybe he trains Nightwing to be Batman, and then at some point maybe in the future they can do Terry McGinnis. There's and it's I get sometimes like jumpy when I see people who are like only Bruce Wayne can be Batman. I'm like, we've proven that it works when it's not Bruce Wayne. The Batman legacy has to start with Bruce. It always has to start with Bruce.
100%.
If let's say if the DCU had started with a Batman who is what was the Batman who we had in Future State?
That was Jace Fox. That was one of Lucius Fox's sons. It was the other one that wasn't Luke. It was not Luke, because Luke is Batwing. Jace is the I Am Batman from John Ridley's run, and the second son.
Yeah, okay. There we go. If they had made him like the first Batman of the DCU, I would have been like, no, you gotta start with Bruce. Like Bruce is first, always first. Same way, like if if they had made Jonathan Kent, and when I say for people who are not much into comic, Jonathan Kent, not the father of Clark Kent, but the son of Clark Kent, who's born many years after Clark Kent is dead. If they started with him as Superman instead of Clark Kent, I would be like, no, you can't do that. You have to start with,
or even like Yara Flora as Wonder Woman. Like
exactly.
Basically, if they did a Future State thing, it would be kind of wonky and it would be very, very confusing.
Well, I heard that Future State was also like very, very mixed received by comic fans. So I'm like, but it's just to sell the point, like depending on who. The situation, if an actor dies or retires from a role, then, James Gunn and Peter Safran will judge it by the character's merits.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
But with that said, let's get into episode 3 of season 1 of Creature Commandos, called Cheers to the Tin Man. And listen, G.I. Robot, I mean, if we have not made it clear enough, like, he is our favorite character.
100%.
Like I'm waiting. I was telling Lib right before we started recording, like, I was trying to order the Funkos for Creature Commandos, including G.I. Robot, but it's still on the Funko website. It still says notify me, as in like they haven't started selling it yet. And I'm like, I'm hoping this will change by the time this episode comes out, because I'm like, y'all, the show is airing now. We gotta, like, come on, like TikTok. We gotta, let the marketing begin. So we this episode spends a lot of time going through G.I. Robot's extensive history in the DCU.
Yes, it does.
And it's okay. So we see him during World War II, and we get an introduction of Sergeant Rock, who. Will he be played by Daniel Craig someday? We will see. Again, it's so confusing now that I'm like, but wait a minute, you've already cast now Sergeant Rock in the DCU.
Well, yes and no. You had someone play Sergeant Rock for a brief couple scenes. It's not, the major role that, G.I. Robot or Rick Flag Sr. or even Weasel to an extent. Like, it's not on that level. It was not on that level when the show was made, and now that we're at a point where Deadline has reported that a Sergeant Rock film is possibly happening with Luca Guadagnino in the director's chair, and he's allegedly reteaming with Daniel Craig to portray this character. I feel like that, it's one of those instances where James Gunn had made it clear in the past, like, yeah, if we don't have anyone cast in that role at the time for it going forward, it will be treated as something a little bit more minuscule, not to diminish the impact of the character or anything, but just in terms of like presenting the character in a live action sense. And honestly, when it comes to this character specifically, if you're going to do a Sergeant Rock film, it more than likely is going to be a period piece. I think we even talked about this on the last episode or even in our advanced review. But yeah, like I feel like if Daniel Craig is to embody this character, it's not going to be for some giant multi-picture deal. It's not going to be on the scale of like Superman or Batman or Wonder Woman, where you've got, you know, multiple appearances lined up. But I do think that if you're going to center a movie around this character, then yeah, you probably want someone with some gravitas and someone who is kind of a name to play this character, someone who's only gonna sign up for like a one and done appearance, more or less.
Fair
And
enough.
I feel like, you know, this is definitely something that would intrigue Daniel Craig, because he was almost Balder the Brave and Doctor Strange in Multiverse of Madness, but then that got axed and we ended up getting John Krasinski instead, which I find very interesting. But that's a completely different conversation and a completely different movie. But like, it's just like, I feel like if Daniel Craig is ready to step foot in the comic book realm, I don't think he's going to take a role that is very, you know, by the books. I think he wants something that has a little bit more substance to it, a little bit more meat on the bone. And honestly, if this episode is an appetizer, because that's what the show is, it's an appetizer to the DC universe. If it is an appetizer towards anything, I could see a Sergeant Rock film spinning from this section of Creature Commandos, and it's very easy to do. And you could even see the sequence in which G.I. Robot completely mows down a bunch of Nazis done in live action. I could see that happening in a Sergeant Rock film. I could see that very sequence that we see in this show get done in live action. I could see that happening for sure. But
how did you enjoy his backstory, by the way?
I thought it was really compelling. I thought there was a lot of interesting quirks to G.I. Robot. There is also something that I talked about. It was either in the advanced review or even the last one that I think we teased. But this is one of my favorite episodes. It's this one and the 6th episode. I won't specify why the 6th one is, but this one for sure is one of my favorites. Because later on and through another flashback, you see that G.I. Robot is brought out to like a Q&A or like a talk show, and there's people in the crowd, and he's like surveying the crowd to make sure there aren't any Nazis in the crowd, because G.I. Robot does not like Nazis. That's a running gag with his character in the show, and I love it.
We stand a robot who hates Nazis.
100%. And I love the way he talks to Nina. Friend Nina, well, we get to kill Nazis. Like I love Gunn's delivery of those lines. It's so completely 180 from anything he's ever done before, and it shows his range as an actor. Because he didn't do Rocket. I almost thought, well, he did the mocap for Rocket, but he also delivered lines on set as Rocket, even though Bradley Cooper is the voice of Rocket Raccoon. But be that as it may, just his delivery as G.I. Robot is really cool and very like stiff, but in a fun way. And in the crowd in which this interview is happening, there is one character from DC Comics, one William Magnus, who's played by Alan Tudyk. Alan Tudyk has, I believe, 3 different roles in this whole series, and as we'll come to find out, he's number one. He's Dr. Phosphorus. He's also, as I mentioned, Will Magnus, and he will play Clayface in a future episode. We will not say which one, but we know when it is and when it happens. But he is Clayface, and it is a very different Clayface than the Harley Quinn show. That much we can probably elaborate on.
Oh yes.
And through the second flashback, like, we see that William Magnus takes an interest in G.I. Robot and decides to, you know, kind of pick him apart a little bit, experiment on him, give him a few upgrades, which we do see by the end of the episode, which I think is amazing. And there's even a line in there where Magnus tells him, you know, I'm going to use you to create the next wave of automatons. And if you look at his board, he's got like a design for, like, you know, what would be an android. I'm like, oh, that's the Metal Men, because William Magnus is the creator of the Metal Men.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with the Metal Men. So, like, can you just give a little brief description to our listeners and viewers?
The Metal Men are like the C and D list of DC Comics as you could probably get. They are, like 3 or 4 different metal alloyed androids created by William Magnus. The most prominent they were ever utilized was in Justice League Gods and Monsters, the Elseworlds story and movie done by Bruce Timm that came out in 2015, where they were the antagonists of the story. They were going around killing prominent DC characters, and it was up to the Kirk Langstrom Batman, the Zod Superman, and the New God Becca Wonder Woman to figure out, oh shit, our friend Will Magnus is the guy killing these people. Awesome. But yeah, Will Magnus is the creator of the Metal Men. They have I don't quite remember when they were created, but they're like very niche characters in the DCU that kind of like function as androids, more or less. Like they are kind of like Red Tornado in a sense, but not really, because in the DC universe, the Grand DC universe, there's a couple different android characters, and the Metal Men. If you're not talking about Red Tornado, you're probably thinking of the Metal Men. And there's like 2 or 3, maybe 4. They all have numbers on their heads. But yeah, like I do think that this is the implication here is that G.I. Robot is the godfather of the Metal Men, which I found pretty cool.
Yeah, no, because when I first heard the name Will Magnus, I'm like, this must what like they're making a point of referencing this. So like, I had to like Google a little bit. And I'm like, oh damn, like the Metal, because I know Metal Man. I know, like way back in the day, that they were trying to do a Metal Man movie. Maybe again, this is also one where I think they've tried to do like, I think they put something into development for every fucking DC character that exists, and then be like, LOL, JK, it doesn't exist, it's not happening. But I also loved seeing his backstory. Again, it's just also seeing him like in a time where like he is showing so much more humanity than actual humans. Like that's what I love so much about him. And while we're learning more about his flashback, we cut back and forth between present time. Flag and the Commandos finally get to the castle, and it gives Bride one of the funniest, but like most relatable scenes of all time, because she's tied up and she has tape on her mouth and she's screaming, and they think that she's trying to warn them that it's a trap.
Yep.
But when they actually get the tape off, they're like, why were you yelling if there was no trap and if they're gone? And she's like, I want you to get the damn tape off my mouth. And I'm like, sis, I totally get it. It's very, very understandable, because like having tape on your mouth is not comfortable. And in the meantime, G.I. is he's looking after Nina, and she's like, they you know what? I like that seriously, and the Sons of Famous Scare were like, we're not gonna, we're gonna tie them up, but we're not going to kill them. But for Nina, we're going to put her in a tub, but we don't want her to get out. So we're going to put all this, wiring and iron, these electric fence around it.
Barbed wire, yeah.
Barbed wire, yeah. And G.I. Robot, like the king he is, he saves her. And when they need to leave the castle because they're realizing that they need to, that Sears is now back at the castle, G.I. Robot just picks up the whole tub and just goes running with it. And I'm like, this is the ultimate best friendship I've ever seen of 100%, all time.
Yeah, I love the dynamic between G.I. Robot and Nina Mazursky. I think they are the two characters who, in a way, it's that friendship you see in these awkward new team ups of characters you've never seen before, and like they are the two opposite beings you could think of that do come together and forge kind of a beautiful friendship in a way, because you have this childlike figure in G.I. Robot who just has like one directive and that one thing he wants to do. He's like, I want to kill Nazis with friend Nina. And Nina's like, it's okay, G.I. If you were to kill Nazis, I would join you. Like, she sees in G.I. what I think she wants out of the Bride, and that's friendship. It's very clear that she wants to be friends with the Bride, because obviously this is the only other female character on the roster. But then, you look at the other commandos. Dr. Phosphorus is kind of a sarcastic dick. Weasel doesn't speak a lick of English at all. And, Rick Flag he's Rick Flag. He's not paying much attention to any one of them, because he's just more concerned about the mission and the princess. It's very clear of like, you got slim pickings of who you're going to gravitate towards, but at the same time, it's like they just kind of naturally gravitate towards each other. And there's that somber moment of she puts her hand on the rim of the tub, and GI just puts his hand on top of hers, and he's like, "Don't worry, friend Nina, I will get you out of here." And as you mentioned, like, he picks up the tub and fucking carries her out. It's beautiful. It is truly beautiful. And then they make their way back to the castle, and one of the princess's guards like gives her second fishbowl, and then the guy gets shot in the head, and GI's just kind of looking around, and they're all getting shot at by the sons of Themyscira. And then he looks at Rick Flag and goes, "Are these Nazis, Mr. Flag?" And like Flag has a moment of like revelation, like the light bulb goes off, and he goes, "Oh, wait a minute. Yes, GI, these are Nazis." And the look on GI's face is so fucking priceless, because he's just like, he's so happy because he finally gets to do the thing that he's been wanting to do. And then this is then intercut with another flashback of GI, where you find out that GI had kind of floated from collectors from the 60s all the way to the 90s. And I'm assuming this is like either the mid 2000s or something like that, because Creature Commandos takes place in present day. Mm-hmm. So you see him meet up with this husky gentleman named Sam, who's voiced by Michael Rooker. And this gentleman kind of takes him in. He's got a bunch of cats. He lives by himself. He's got like this back room that's kind of a war room filled with a bunch of war paraphernalia, and it's all great and dandy. And GI's like, "Oh, cool." And then like he dresses GI up in like some kind of like, winter hoodie and a jacket, and then he takes him to like a meeting. He's like, "Oh, come on."
I don't get cold. It was. He's like, yeah. It was. I mean, again, I know you can't really squeeze his cheeks because they're all metal, but like, I just kind of went, "Oh, you're so cute."
Yes, that was adorable. Yeah. That was very adorable. But Sam brings him to this meetup of a bunch of people in Hub City. Do you know the significance of Hub City?
Vic Sage.
Vic Sage, you are correct.
Oh, yes, I know Sage, it was either him or Kyle Rayner. It was like either one. That was one of my two options.
But the fact that there was a group of white supremacists in Hub City, and the Question didn't know about it, I'm just like, I wonder if that's going to come up later somewhere down the line. But besides the point, GI comes to the conclusion that, he's at like a white supremacist rally, and he's like, time to die, Nazi. And then he just blows everyone away. Oh my God.
It's glorious. It's glorious.
The fact that is the thing that landed him in Belle Reve, I was like, oh, that's tragic. That's so tragic. He did a good deed for society.
It's typical America as well.
This is like a woman setting a person who does horrible things to a child on fire and then getting locked up for it. It's like that. It's almost like that. It's in that same category. It's like you did a good deed for society, but you're being punished for it. That's not fair.
And G.I. Robot, he doesn't like. Nothing really bothers him. He's kind of, I got to do my thing, mm-hmm. And again, that's why I'm like, I can't label, I mean, I can't really label any of these characters as villains other than
Phosphorus,
yeah. Which we will see later in the series as a little tease. But yeah, G.I. Robot, like he was created for the purpose of stopping bad guys, and I cannot wait for someone to come into the comments being like, "I cannot believe that you guys are so excited for a robot killing people." I'm like, really, bitch? Like,
well, there are people, and then there are Nazis.
Exactly.
Nazis deserve to be in a grave. I'm sorry. Like,
Nazis want people like me to not exist.
Right.
So I'm like,
and Nazis want people like me to kill people like my friend, and I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm on the side of the robot. Exactly. I'm standing behind the robot that's going to mow y'all down. Sorry.
The animation when he starts spinning and like shooting people, like, again, because I knew, like, okay, he was made in the 30s or 40s or whatever. So I'm like, okay, so I didn't know
1943.
1943. So I'm not sure how many upgrades he's gone through since then, or if this was always part of his program. But yeah, I was like, this is sick. This is so awesome.
So to me, the way that I interpreted it was, when he stands up in 1943 and mows them all down, that's his initial programming. And then when we see him break apart in present day, I feel like that was an addition from Will Magnus.
Mm.
That's kind of the way I interpret it, because when he breaks in half and like he kind of hovers, his top half kind of hovers, and he's going in circles and mowing all them sons of Themyscira down, who are very clearly inspired by modern day people on a certain political spectrum. It's very clear to me that like. Well, also, I just really love that GI is smiling and laughing when he's just mowing down these motherfuckers. It's amazing. It's just so funny to me. And then we see his face get blown apart by Circe.
I'm not gonna lie. I went like, "You goddamn bitch! Why would you do this?"
I was like, just like, "Oh no,
motherfucker!"
Yeah, I was like, "Motherfuck, not GI, no, no."
But that's why the scene that comes after, when they all, like just unleash on her, and Bride goes to Rick and goes, "You wanted monsters, you got them," and I'm like, this is glorious, because
like, even then, like, she blows him apart and then makes her way to the princess, and then who of all characters comes to save the princess? Fucking Weasel. Weasel comes and shreds her to shit, scratches her back, bites her, the whole fucking nine, brings her out of the castle, lands her on the floor, and then what does fucking Dr. Phosphorus do? He walks up to her and burns her fucking face. Oh my god. That was amazing.
Yeah, this is why, again, another phenomenal animation battle that I'm like, we talked about this on the last episode, that battle sequences in animation, especially for DC, has been kind of up and down lately. But this feels like, this doesn't feel like sloppy animation. This feels like something like, again, like, I understand now why we've had to wait so long to get this show. And it was, the scene when Nina bids farewell to G.I. Robot, I'm not gonna lie, because I was crying for two reasons. One, because the way they kind of like animated G.I. Robot reminds me of the Iron Giant a lot of ways, and that's like one of my it's one of my all-time favorite movies of all time. So, but again, like as he's bidding farewell to her, we see that she's crying, in the fishbowl. And again, you still, again, because she's surrounded.
Go up to, and I was just like, oh, that makes sense. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, and we go from that moment, that summer, to suddenly, we see what's happened to Sirius, and her face is just fucked. Like, they're gonna have to patch her up by the time we see her in live action. But yeah, she's like, "You doomed us all," and Lip and I know what the answer is to that. You guys will have to see next week. But again, like I was again, I didn't expect him to kill someone this soon in the series. But then I'm realizing, you know what, Andy? There's only 7 episodes. They gotta give us a punch now.
This was the episode where I realized not everyone was safe. It dawned on me like, oh right, this is written by James Gunn. He never makes anybody safe in anything he ever does. Like he never. Period. Bar none.
I really thought that was gonna be the thing with Creature Commandos, that they were gonna be safe, because this isn't the Suicide Squad. I felt like, because again, these are characters that, like, why would they necessarily make them expendable? Because again, like, now that Amanda Waller can't use human prisoners anymore, she's gonna need people that necessarily can't die as easily. So that's why I was kind of like, as sad as I was kind of going like, why would they kill him off though? So, but
the only thing I will say is the best thing about robots is they can be rebuilt. And hopefully they do rebuild GI Robot. Hopefully.
I get it. It's just, what, the one thing that I kind of wish that Nina would have gotten was, like, she would have gotten something at Circe, because because she's the only one that she only gets to grieve him, but she doesn't really get like it would have been cooler if she had gone to get a little violent with Circe, because I'm like, girl, you just took away her one only friend.
Yeah, and I think this is also the only episode where the title is repeated more than once, because you hear "Cheers to the Tin Man" I think 3 different times in this entire episode. You hear it once when they're during the first flashback, we're in the bar, and the Easy Men are all like, "Oh, cheers to the Tin Man," right? And they give GI beer. It's said again, when Sam and GI are having a conversation and he says like, "Oh, cheers to the Tin Man," and Sam goes, "Oh, hell yeah." And then at the end, like GI's last words are "cheers to the Tin Man," and then his eyes effectively power down and shut down for good.
I was expecting the one would be like, if I drink this, my wiring will get dismantled. Or like, because like, how would he drink it? He would just like, "Nyeh." Like it would have to be like that, and then suddenly you hear like the wiring just like splattering up.
One thing I did love was like the thing that powers him is gasoline, even though that was established in the first episode. They bring it back here because that's what Sam uses to turn him back on after like 30 years of being decommissioned or being powered off. Like the thing that powers him is gasoline. I was like, oh, that's neat.
But no, but anything else you want to talk about this episode before we wrap things up?
You know, I think I'm right there with you in terms of the animation, in terms of like the action sequences. It is pristine. It makes sense as to why we waited so damn long to get it, because you know they wanted it to look as good as it does. And again, props to Bobby Pill's animation for making this look as good as it does. I really do like this show a lot, and this was easily one of my favorite episodes, if not probably my favorite episode.
Yeah,
this one, it's either this one or the sixth one that I'm just like.
Yeah, I'm very curious to hear what makes it, because me and we try to make it clear that we won't tell each other's thoughts on each episode before we record them, so we have things to talk about on air. But I'm definitely curious now, like when we get to episode 6 to hear like, because 3 and 4 and 7 are my 3 favorites.
4 is a good one. 4 is a fun one, and I think next week there's going to be.
We're gonna have lots of things to discuss. So see how we give teases without spoiling what's actually happening. That very mindful, very demure. Like this is how you keep spoilers under NDA, and this is how it shows we're responsible when we get screeners, and some others are not.
Right, and if you try and fish any kind of information out of us, we will tell you to meet us at the corner of fucking off. It's that simple. Like I cannot tell you like sure, I shouldn't be saying like the only thing we can say is like, yes, we've seen Creature Commandos, and then when people go, oh, you've seen it, it's like, yes. Well, can you say it? And it's like, no, I'm not gonna fucking tell you. Why would I? No. All you
will get from us is just this.
Pretty much that's it. That's it. Yeah. No, I mean, like, this episode is one for the books, man. I think this is as a fan of GI Robot and in such a short time, like, I want those damn Funkos to go on sale. I want merchandise for GI Robot. Like, I want a GI Robot shirt where he's just blowing it out his head off, for crying out loud.
Because what was funny when I interviewed Sean Gunn and Zoe Chow a couple of weeks ago. Zoe, she held up her Funko like she's already gotten one. And I'm like, that's why I thought like, oh, they must be on sale now. And I go to the Funko website again because we're recording it on November 30th, and at the time it wasn't available. So I'm like, but the show comes out in a couple of days, so let's just let's make them available. Like, I want to collect them all. So still think it's very bullshit that Rick Flag Sr. did not get his own Funko. But listen, I'm used to certain DC creators not getting their Funkos, and not getting the same love as other characters. Someone who watched the Flash TV show for 9 years, I just wish should have gotten a Funko. So like, I know the pain when there's like certain characters don't get their own figures.
Yeah, I think it's a little nonsense that Flag Senior doesn't have his own Funko. That's kind of ridiculous, but maybe we'll get one for Superman. Because he is in that movie.
That would make sense. Why that could be why they're saving it.
I mean, if you were to ask me which Funkos I would absolutely get, if number one, if I had the funds to get as many as I wanted, I would likely get. I know for sure I want a GI Robot one, but I would also probably get Nina Mazursky as well as Dr. Phosphorus. Those are the other two I would get without question. Maybe the Bride, but for sure I would get Dr. Phosphorus, Nina, And of course, GI Robot. Like GI Robot, I think to me might just be a Christmas present to myself.
I would get all 6 of them, because I'm a completionist that way. But yeah, but then my number one choice, like if I can only pick one of them, I would pick GI Robot. And
Definitely.
So rest in peace in Robot Heaven. But we want to hear what you guys had to say about episode 3 of Creature Commandos. So if you have thoughts, you can tweet us at DC Studio Podcast. There's no S in it, or at Multiverse Color. You can email DC Studios Podcast at gmail.com for long listener feedback, and we'll read it on the next show. And where can people find you on the social medias and your other projects that you do?
Right here, unfiltered everywhere, except for that hellscape known as X, run by Elon Musk. I don't hang out there because that place is terrible. But no,
you don't go there. You don't go there.
I don't go there. But I am on Vero. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Threads. I'm on Blue Sky. It's all unfiltered. You can listen to my other podcast, The Eternal Night. Me and my buddy Craig do Batman stuff on that show. You can catch my Friday Phil show every Friday at 4:05 Pacific Standard Time. Where I talk about this stuff and a bunch of other bullshit going on in the entertainment world. And that's kind of it. You can also read my stuff on Multiverse of Color. I'm sure by the time this episode rolls up, I'll have a couple of reviews of Creature Commandos out too.
And you'll be able to check out his review of the series finale of Supernovas. So
as well as Skeleton Crew, because I am gonna be busy.
Yeah, he's gonna be a very busy boy in December. You can find me at Rebecca on all social media. I'm also a senior writer and interviewer for ScreenRant.com. So check out all my news coverage and interviews that I do for them. I'm also the editor-in-chief of multiversalcolor.com, which gives you lots of content about and reviews, interviews, news, and so much more about the world of television, film, comics, you name it. Also, while the show is on hiatus right now, the Showrunner Whisper at showrunnerwhisper.com, which is an MOC original, where I talk to various Hollywood showrunners and go inside their minds of what it's like to be a showrunner in today's television landscape. And in terms of where you can find the podcast, you will find all the things in the video description below. But yeah, we hope you're enjoying Creature Commandos with us so far, and we have four more glorious episodes, so join us next week as we talk about episode 4. But yeah, until next time, I'm Andy B.
And I'm Philip Lip, whatever you name it.
And we'll see you next time on the Creature Commandos podcast.